Welcome to Talking Technology with VI Labs. At VI Labs, we believe technology is the single greatest enabler for people with sight loss and all disabilities. If you're looking for the latest news and conversation on tech from a more accessible perspective, you've come to the right place.
Yes, indeed, you have. Hello, everybody, and welcome in to episode number 83 of Talking Technology with VI Labs. We've just had a bank holiday here in Ireland, so we are well rested, we're all refreshed, and we're feeling great. And none of the technical gremlins are hanging around from last time, so things are looking up. And hopefully it stays that way over the next hour or so, where we do hope you'll stick with us. We have a really exciting show coming up over the next hour or so. And I know I say that at the start of most shows, but we do have some really interesting news coming up later on in the show, because we'll be catching up with Matt Ater. Matt Ater is a senior vice president at Vespero. Vespero, you may know them as the parent company of Freedom Scientific, of Optelec, that group there. They make JAWS, Zoom Text, all of those products. And they have some really exciting news to share with us about the very future of JAWS and how we'll be buying JAWS and how we'll be doing all of that stuff with JAWS later on in the show. So please do stick around for that. Some interesting stuff to hear about for sure. And hey, a reminder that this isn't just our podcast. This is your podcast too. We'd absolutely love to hear from you, whether it's your latest news on technology, something that you've tried, something you want to try, or a story you've heard. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. And hey, if you haven't heard the news, this episode is slightly different because, hey, we have some exciting stuff to give away.
It's time to win. To celebrate 250 editions of Tech on Tap, we're giving you the chance to win some super cool prizes.
Prizes? I love prizes. Did somebody mention prizes?
Here's David with the details.
Oh yes, we do have a really cool prize to give away on this episode of Talking Technology. We're not playing around because if you haven't heard the details, we recently published our 250th edition of our Tech on Tap newsletter. That's a lot of articles over 5 years. It's been going a while. And to celebrate, we have a pair of Shokz Open Move headphones to give away. So if you haven't heard how to enter, it's actually quite simple. It's really cool. All you've got to do is send us a WhatsApp voice note, just like you normally would. 086 199 0011. That's 086 199 0011. And all you've got to do is tell us what your favourite newsletter article has been. It could be anything at all over the past 5 years or so. Anything that you enjoyed, anything that helped you out. We want to hear from it. You can also enter by sending an email to content@vi.ie. So just send us your favourite newsletter article, either in a WhatsApp voice note, in an email, or in a standard WhatsApp message. And you've got to send it in before the 9th of May. That's this coming Friday. So you don't have long left, just 4 days. But full terms and conditions can be found on our website, vi.ie. Just go to the technology news section there and you will find all the details that you need. It's great to be able to give a pair of these Shokz Open Move headphones away, and who knows, you've got to be in it to win it. So head online now and send an entry our way. But Joe is here, of course. Joe is always here on these. Joe, do you have a pair of the Open Move headphones?
No, David, I'm an AirPods user, but I've seen the newer style Open Move headphones, and they're a lot lighter and more comfortable than the ones that came out years ago when bone conduction was in its infancy. But I think they're a great set of earphones, and I suppose they're safe as well as regards using them with soundscape and things like that, because your ears are open. You know what I mean? So they have their benefits, and I think they're very good.
Absolutely. And again, all you need to do is a WhatsApp voice note if you would be interested in winning. And Joe, the terms and conditions state that it's not open to staff of Vision Ireland or any affiliated companies. So you're out of luck on this one, I'm afraid.
I'll have to get over that one, David. So look, maybe I'll just stick with Internet Cash Machine and wasting all my money on all those other radio stations then, David.
Yeah. So look, that's one way to waste your money. Anyway, Joe, an example of one person that has entered this competition. We've got, I must say, we've been absolutely flooded with voice notes, emails, all of that. We're not going to get through all of that today. We will share many more of your voice notes and emails and stuff at some stage. But we did want to show you one example of one person who has entered the competition, just so that you get a whole feel for exactly what you've got to do in order to enter. So here is an example of one person who was very happy with an article that I think was you wrote, Joe, on Comreg.
Hello, VI Labs team and the readers of the VI Labs Tech newsletter. This is Paweł, greeting you all from Vienna, and I'm just checking in with an answer to the competition question that you have posted some editions ago about which news has made the most significant impact for me. So this is a bit of a different perspective because I'm not from Ireland, so I keenly follow what has been going on over there in Ireland by reading your newsletter, and I'm generally fascinated by the developments for blind and partially sighted people all over the world. And it's always great to read something that is happening in one country that other countries don't have developed yet. And for me, this kind of moment was when you posted about the Comreg's plans to combat the waves of scam calls, or rather scam text messages that you're receiving, or we all are receiving them. And it was interesting to read about the approach of the white list of companies that can send those text messages, especially because in the podcast I help run in Poland, we have had these discussions before, and actually the moment you posted the news, in this during the same week and I think the week after, we had more listener contributions regarding scam calls that people have been receiving. Some of them were orchestrated rather well with the help of AI and deep fakes of voices, of course. And it was interesting to hear that there are actually solutions put in place elsewhere to combat maybe not the calls thing, but the text, which I think is a great start. And it's good to know that something is being done about this. So this ability to, thanks to you, to follow how technology helps persons who are blind and partially sighted in Ireland was really and is still really precious to me. So thank you for that. And I look forward to your future editions.
Thanks so much, pal. Appreciate that. And Joe, I think that was your article. It is interesting to see that some of the articles that we've written in the past, some were going way back, Joe, actually. Some of the messages we received were for voice notes and comments about newsletters long in the past. But it's great to see just the variety of stuff that people are benefiting from, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, the amount of access now we have to different types of technologies, it's just sometimes it's overwhelming, but it's actually great as well. So anything, we can get a screen reader onto anything now, for example, that has text built in, you know what I mean? So most things are capable of carrying a screen reader, but we're still not 100% there as regards accessibility. But the European Accessibility Act will help in a big way now in the summer when it comes into action, and it'll hopefully push a few more companies even farther down the line, and hopefully they'll make all their products accessible. So we'll have even more things to write about in the newsletter then, David.
Absolutely. Exciting times ahead. So a reminder, and thank you, Paweł, for that voice note. You have exactly the right idea, and so do so many others. There are a few ways that you can get in touch and enter that competition for those Shokz Open Move headphones. You can send a WhatsApp message or voice note to 086 199 0011, letting us know your favourite newsletter article. Or if you prefer, you can send the information to content@vi.ie, in which case you will also be entered. The competition closes on the 9th of May. That's this coming Friday. And again, all of the terms and conditions can be found on the website. Just go to the technology news section of vi.ie. Moving that aside, moving exciting competitions and opportunities to win aside, we did have some other voice notes in on various other matters arising. One of those was in from Edvard, and Edvard had an interesting comment into us regarding Be My Eyes and Be My AI.
Hi guys, I'm wondering if it's just me, but have you noticed what happened to Be My AI? Like previously you could send as many messages as you want, but now it's like there's like a limit. So after a certain amount of messages, it will either say alert failed to send reply or maximum number of messages have reached. Like, have you guys noticed this? Why would they do that? Because it was really handy if it's like, if it was to be like a long conversation between the Be My AI and the user. But just let me know if you guys noticed that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Edvard. Thanks as always for the voice note. I must say, I hadn't come across this, Joe. I don't know whether you had. But we did reach out to Be My Eyes to ask some questions, and it turns out, and we do have a newsletter article on this again on vi.ie, that they were encountering what they were calling abuse by a certain bad actor. And that never sounds good. We don't have a whole lot more detail outside of that. But bad actor, yeah.
Steven Seagal, or who's the bad actor, David?
Well, we don't know. So I suppose you do raise an interesting point, though, Joe. A bad actor, for those who don't know, it's basically a term around tech, that someone who's basically using the technology for nefarious purposes, I suppose, Joe. Yes. And I suppose we don't know exactly what was going on with Be My Eyes. We did ask, but we haven't heard back just at time of recording. And we did get some pushback on Facebook after publishing that article. There was a little bit of pushback, say people wondering, well, we don't actually know exactly what's happening, and questioning whether the reaction was justified. And it's a fair question to ask, I suppose. But Be My Eyes, they have introduced some limits to the Be My AI service. I think something like 150 individual chats a day, and then 20 in any kind of message conversation, which in my head, Joe, and I'll be interested to get your thoughts on this, I could never have seen myself reaching, but I've heard some people, and some people were responding to this when they read the article that we had in Tech on Tap, saying that they could see themselves in certain cases reaching the limit, especially if they were doing tasks like sorting clothing or trying to triangulate their position. And it seems Edvard's in the same boat as well. Is that something you could see yourself hitting, Joe?
Personally, look, I see Edvard obviously had an issue with the limits because he came up against it. But no, I've never had an issue with the limits myself, because I might be a different type of user. I might only use Be My Eye, I suppose, maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Some people might use it every day. And when I do use it, it's probably for 2 or 3 messages at a time, or maybe 10 messages at a time, just to maybe take those extra pictures of something. If the first one didn't work out, I might try and take a picture of the other side of the box, or maybe I might take 4 the pictures, maybe one side of the garden, another of the behind me, and one left and right, that kind of thing. But other than that, I wouldn't go mad taking pictures. You know what I mean? It's kind of close. I might only have to do maybe 4 or 5 pictures. But yeah, I couldn't see myself exceeding the limit. And I don't actually take pictures anymore with Be My AI, because I'm slightly paranoid about data, so I used the Microsoft product instead. But that's just personal, so it's all subjective, David. So I don't see myself exceeding the limit, but I did notice the history thing. So you can access your history for 30 days now. Go back 30 days, but I think that's an excellent feature, accessing your history, because I've often taken a picture of something, then maybe thrown away that product or that piece of paper or whatever it was, but I still wanted to know what description I read earlier. At least now I can go back through my history and even access the photo. Sometimes that photo might have been a good photo that you're taking and say, oh, look, I'd love to save that photo. So then at least you can go back to your history 30 days backwards and access it, So I think that's an excellent feature. I really am delighted that they have included that piece. And I suppose it's good to have limits on it. I suppose their servers are only a certain capacity as well. And I'm sure this is costing BMI money to store all this data, and they have to put a limit on it. I know they're making profit some way as regards, I suppose, combining and collaborating with different companies, but that's not the point. So they have to protect themselves as well.
Yeah, I think my overall view, I agree, by the way. I think the history feature, I think, is a fantastic addition to Be My Eyes. I do think it's sad in a way that there has to be a limit. I would love to know more about, what exactly was going on or how the service was being abused. I think it's ultimately sad that was the case, but what can you do? You can only, it's always that example of that's why we can't have nice things. But I think, look, for me, I suppose the limits didn't seem that unreasonable. And I think, to be fair, that was the consensus that I was reading online when people were commenting on that article, that the limits seemed reasonable, even though some people understandably might not have been too happy about the subject, Joe.
Yeah, it's the famous tech thing in the past. All tech companies hold back something as well, so they can offer something new in the future. So, like, there might have been capabilities of having, maybe 4K a few years ago, but now there is 4K, so you pay extra for the TV or whatever, or else maybe faster broadband or any other ideas or examples you can give. Fair enough, but in this case, it's a higher capacity of messages can be sent. Maybe they might charge for something like that down the line, but that's for the I suppose the conspiracy theorists inside you to debate. But who knows, if you are that person that wants unlimited messages, that might be an offer down the line that they might charge for. But at the moment, Be My AI is free. We're all delighted it's free. Who knows what direction it is going, but I'm happy enough with the amount of messages I'm allowed to send, and I won't be complaining anytime soon. But as Edward is saying, he's a different type of user, might use a lot more than me, and I have to respect Edward's views.
Absolutely. If the surface was just at its core a paid surface, would it be worth it to you, Joe?
I'm afraid to say yes or no on that one. Possibly because there's so many other ones out there now. I've tried a couple of more lately, even Sullivan Plus there lately. It doesn't give you as much description as Be My AI, but it gives you a quicker description and a briefer description. Then there's, I suppose there's CNAI has versions of descriptions that I can give you as well. So there's other options out there. So if I didn't feel like paying it, I wouldn't have to. So probably wouldn't, but I do. But saying that, I love Be My AI. I love the work you do. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Time will tell on that. But it's an interesting story. Who knows what exactly was going on? Maybe it'll come out at some stage. Maybe they will tell us. It was, as we said at the start, a bank holiday here. So in fairness, they didn't have as much time to respond to us as we would normally give people. But there you go. It's an interesting one, and time shall tell for sure. But a reminder that if you would like to send us a WhatsApp voice note on anything at all like that, you've noticed something changed with a piece of technology that you use and you like, or something's happened that you don't like. We'd love to hear from you, or for any technology reviews or anything like that. The number that you need, 086 199 0011. And a reminder that until Friday, you can enter to win a pair of Shokz Open Move headphones by sending a voice note, a message, or by email, just telling us your favourite newsletter article using the same contact details as always. Full terms and conditions, vi.ie. So now, moving on, a really interesting one, and it's always good to catch up with the team over at Vespero. Vespero are the people behind Freedom Scientific, Optelec, Enhanced Vision, TPGI, that's an accessibility consulting brand that they've got there. They own a lot of stuff. But we managed to catch up with Matt Ater, and Matt is a senior vice president at Vespero, and he was telling us all about the latest new things with JAWS, the latest features in JAWS for kiosks, what the state of JAWS for kiosks are, and also he gave us a really interesting update on the future of purchasing, or rather subscribing to JAWS. Here's what happened when we caught up with Matt Ater earlier this week. So joining me now on Talking Technology, I am delighted to be joined all the way from the USA by Matt Ater. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Awesome, thank you. So, Matt, you take care of a lot of different stuff over at Vespero. Vespero, I suppose, mostly known for Freedom Scientific, makers of JAWS, Zoom Text, and Fusion. But you also do some other stuff as well, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I suppose to start off, what is the current story with JAWS, Zoom Text, all of those kind of products? Where are we at and where are we going? What's exciting and new?
So the first I'll say is that, we're continuing to develop on a regular basis. As we all know, there used to be a day when you bought software and then, you may get upgrades every year, but, your base software didn't change. Right. So your operating system stayed the same for a couple of years. Your productivity tools like Microsoft Office didn't change for a couple of years. But now everything's changing so rapidly that there's, we're releasing something every 6 to 8 weeks. And that's a major effort for a team to have converted from something that they would have rolled out once a year to something, and this has been going back a while that we've been doing this, but it's really important for people to recognize that those updates are critical, and keeping up to date with your software is critical. And an example is last month, Chrome and Edge 134 broke some of our features in JAWS called copy and paste. So when we copy and paste out of the browser, we copy formatting by default. And you could change that. You could say from virtual cursor inside your settings, but that's our default setting. If you don't change that to from virtual cursor and you're running one of those browsers, your copy and paste is not going to work. And so we had to do an update back in April, and this is an example of why to keep your versions of your software up to date, that fixed that so that people were able to copy and paste, because people are trying to copy and paste and getting nothing. And it was a feature changed in Chrome and Edge. And so I'm happy to announce that as of this week, they've actually, Chrome has changed that back in version 136. And so if you move forward, you won't see those same issues with copy and paste. Now, we had to do a lot of effort to kind of get that done in April when we still have a release coming here in May. And so those are just some basic, housekeeping that is really important for people to understand why we do, regular updates and keeping versions up to date. The cool thing that's coming out is, as most people know, in the last year or so, we've released things like Picture Smart AI about a year ago. And if you haven't tried it, it's amazing to be able to just, I could be on a call like this and somebody puts up a chart on the screen. And they may be describing a few things about the chart, and they may not even describe the chart. They just may be talking about numbers, but I didn't even know a chart was up there. But with Picture Smart AI, I can interrogate what's on the screen. and get that information. So it's an amazing, powerful feature. The beauty of it is that we handle all the AI for you. You don't have to go subscribe anywhere. It's just processed by us, and so it makes it really easy for a user to consume that. And then later in the year, probably announced during the 2025 releases of the software, we added something called fscompanion.ai, and anybody can just go to that website, fscompanion.ai, and ask questions about how to do something in JAWS at the time. And since we've added Fusion and Zoom Text features as well. So, this is a hugely powerful feature to be able to understand. I could just say, how do I insert a row in Excel with JAWS? And it will come back and tell me exactly, step-by-step keyboard examples. Okay, so we've taken all of the JAWS Zoom Text training, Fusion training for the last whatever number of years that are current valued trainings, and pop those in, and they'll continue to add more content as it gets developed, as in webinars and things like that, into this tool. And it makes it easier for somebody to understand how to do something. When you sit back and look at how a person learns and how a person uses these tools today, they don't know everything that's about this product. They know enough to do their job. But then when it hits that they need to know something else, do you really want to go look through some help files? Today, you can, if you're running the product, you could just press insert space and then press F1, and it's going to tell you, it's going to open up where you can ask the question. It makes it so easy to get information, and you could keep asking questions if you need more information about what you just asked. For sure. So highly recommend people try this out.
That's really interesting. I mean, I think AI has played a massive role in the space. So we've seen, the likes of probably Be My Eyes and Be My AI probably be the biggest tools. But there's so many playing around in that space now as well, whether it's Ira. I know Vespero have a partnership with Ira as well, and we can talk about that later. But it is interesting how much AI has changed the space, and that's probably particularly the case in the screen reader space, would you say?
Yeah. And in fact, the release here in May will have a AI labeler, so that if you land on something on the web or in your applications, you can press, I think in the beginning it's insert G. So instead of being the old graphics label, and now they may have changed the keystroke by the time of this podcast or the time of the release, but I think it's that, and it will go grab a label for that element, and that could be a button, an edit box, a checkbox, whatever, and that will continue to develop. But in the May release, you'll have to go and choose the early adopter program under the options menu to be able to enable that. It will not be on by default. And then coming in July timeframe, it'll get released into the product as a full feature. But that if you haven't played around with the early adopter program, it's a great way to kind of see what's coming soon. And so that's under the options menu. You can go in there and check off which one you want. You can even turn it off later if you don't like it. So it allows you to try out new things.
Awesome stuff. I suppose, how much of, JAWS and Zoom Text development goes into keeping up with those changes from, be it Google or Microsoft or whoever, versus, I suppose, what can in some ways be the exciting stuff, the exciting new stuff?
Yeah, I'm going to say that it's probably 30%. And this is just my, there's probably a 30. I don't run software, so I'm just going to speak, as a journalist on this topic, that you probably have 30% of it going into keeping up with the technology. You probably have 30% going into new features, and don't expect a new feature every release, because there's a lot of effort that goes into things and a lot of features being worked on. This right now we're working on multi-line Braille to be able to support the Monarch. And, at some point that's going to get announced, and be a big splash. And now I probably just busted everybody's bubble that we're doing it. But this is why you don't let me on a podcast. But those kind of things are, critical things for us to do as well from an innovation perspective. And then there's probably a 30% of just maintenance on the product, because
Sure.
there's lots of other moving pieces as well as tickets that come in from customers. And so, if the ticket hadn't come in on this big crisis for Google and Edge, Chrome and Edge, in April, then maybe our team would have been working on other bug fixes and things that come in. Because, someone's going to report that, I don't know, something changed in this product and it broke JAWS in a weird way. And it wasn't on our roadmap to do with Google, with Google, Microsoft, or one of the other partners who's doing something.
I do want to talk to you about some of the other products, because I think, we think of JAWS typically, on JAWS for Windows. Like I always remember JAWS for Windows is ready. I think that's almost iconic in a way.
Yeah, exactly.
But JAWS doesn't just exist on the Windows side. There is also JAWS for kiosk. And this is something that is lesser known, but can be equally impactful. So I suppose for those who don't know, what is JAWS for kiosk?
Yeah, so think of it, and there's multiple versions, but I'll just talk through like at a high scenario here that like there are self-service devices that we all have to interact with on a regular basis. You could go to a restaurant that doesn't take orders from a counter anymore, and how do you buy food? Or the queue is shorter at the kiosk than it is in the regular queue. And additionally, if I can't read the menu, if the kiosk was accessible, it's an easy way to read the menu, right? And so we developed a version of JAWS for a kiosk. It slims it down to be very focused on what those needs are on a kiosk. It speaks some things a little different in that it's more general for an audience who's not a computer user.
Yeah.
So, for example, if we move by a heading, which a lot of people may do with the letter H, you don't have a full-size keyboard on this, and we don't call it a heading. We may call it a section.
Yeah.
And the reason is that we can't assume that everybody's ever known what a heading is, which is a technical term. And so we changed some basic terminology to be more kiosk-like. And then our gestures, if you use the touch screen, would be more similar to, say, an iPhone. So you swipe right to move forward, swipe left to go back, swipe up to go to the previous section, down to the next section, double tap to activate. And then you could use a keypad. There's a company called Storm out of the UK. Storm makes a keypad that kind of looks like a D-pad from a controller from your gaming system. And it would have, a left, right, up, down, middle key to activate kind of thing, and a headphone jack. And so if you plugged in your headphones on one of these kiosks, then JAWS would start. And when you unplug them, JAWS would stop. We've developed this both in Windows. We do have an Android version, mainly for, industry, again, not for consumers. And think of it as like, a payment device. You may go to a counter at a restaurant and you need to pay the bill at the end, and they want you to put in your tip. Well, why can't a blind person do that tip on their own?
Yeah.
Or maybe you have to put in your credit card PIN. And so being able to do those things independently, privately, is part of the reason that we created this tool, as well as to meet regulations in the US, Canada, and in Europe.
We had a conversation before recording that the McDonald's terminals, not in Ireland yet, but in the States, those all have JAWS for kiosk now, which is fascinating.
Yeah, not all of them, but they continue to roll out. One of the cool things that McDonald's had done, which I think for anybody listening or traveling to the States or living in the States, you can go to the store lookup. This is a really cool thing. You can go to the store lookup, type in your zip code that you're in, and then there's a filter button. And at the bottom of the filter, it says audio navigation. And if you check the box for audio navigation, then hit search, it'll show you all the stores that have this built in. So then as they roll out new kiosks, or as stores update their kiosks, then JAWS will be enabled on those devices. It's a really amazing experience to be independent,
yeah,
and be able to look at the menu yourself. Pick out things, turn off, say, I don't want onions, or I do want onions, or give me pickles or don't give me pickles.
Yeah.
Those are things that the independence to be able to make your choices yourself, regardless if it's McDonald's or something else, is amazing. And, we did one that's it's from a company called Higi, Higi is how it's spelled. And they're blood pressure machines that are in grocery stores. And so if you see one of these devices or find one of these devices and you sit down at it, you can plug in your headphones and it will walk you through checking your blood pressure.
That's really cool.
And so it's not just food ordering, it's airlines, it's payment devices, like I mentioned, and we'll be rolling out some payment devices across Europe in June and July that have JAWS on them. And so the one thing I tell people is, bring your headphones.
I do want to ask you before we wrap up, people, year in, year out will typically be looking at JAWS upgrades, Zoom Text Fusion upgrades. In the States, it doesn't quite work that way as such because, they have that subscription model that you pay, every couple of months or a year for JAWS. Is that kind of model coming to the UK, Ireland anytime in the future?
I would expect that there is a subscription program coming out across the world. The models I can't speak to because I'm not involved in those decisions and things like that. That whatever models that may be used, I can't speak to. But subscriptions are coming, and
soon?
I would expect soon.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
I think the world has changed in that we don't buy box software anymore. And, the main thing with subscriptions is, keep your software up to date and it keeps cruising along. When you choose to do, let's say, it gets pretty costly if you go down the path of not keeping your software up to date. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, I want to do it. And it's an upgrade.
Yeah.
And it could get pretty pricey because you're basically buying your way back in. And so, I would expect that subscriptions are going to hit the streets definitely in the next, 60, 90 days for sure.
Okay, very soon. Interesting stuff. I suppose other thing then, how can people, if they want to catch up with Vespero, Freedom Scientific, TPGI, all of those companies, where can people go to learn more? And is there anything else that we missed?
Yeah, I think that the top thing that I always want to bring up to everybody, because we're in that 30th anniversary of JAWS. Definitely, we'll have celebrations throughout the year. We'll have events throughout the year. If you don't follow our blog, go to freedomscientific.com and sign up for the blog. And then on the topic of, what else we're doing, each one of the brands has their own kind of messaging. So it's great to follow Optelec, and there's an Optelec in the UK that you can follow on LinkedIn and other social media platforms. There's, Enhanced Vision is another brand, Freedom Scientific, of course, and then I mentioned TPGI. And if you're more focused on accessibility, then I would go to tpgi.com and sign up for those blogs. And you get a lot of knowledge about what's coming out and what's happening through signing up for those blogs and paying attention to what we're doing. And, as we launch more kiosks around the world, you'll probably see some posts in there about where JAWS is on those devices. But I would watch and try out, and I would say this to everybody: if you go to a place of business and you try to use something and it's not accessible, talk to the people who run the business and say, you know what, this would be nice if I could use this device. And we as people with blind or low vision need to speak up and tell the businesses of this. And we did a survey a year ago on people's experiences in restaurants and the restaurant experience. And if you search that, it's called Accessibility Drives Loyalty. And so if you search that topic on Google, you should come up with it, or on TPGI's website. And it talks about what we found through people's experiences. And they could be anything from, online menus to online ordering to using self-service devices like kiosk or payment devices, or something as simple as lighting in the restaurant because they were low vision and they couldn't see the menu. Everything matters to us as individuals with disabilities, and we need to speak up to businesses when we're being faced with challenges. And so if you're dealing with any kind of self-service technology in the public, speak up and tell the business that you would expect that you should be able to use these devices.
Matt, thank you so much for joining us on Talking Technology. Always great to hear about the latest innovations from Vespero, and I'm sure we'll do this again sometime.
I really appreciate it and looking forward to it next time.
And there you have it, a really interesting conversation there with Matt Ater, Senior Vice President at Vespero. I do want to bring in, and we'll go to news in just a second, but I want to bring you in here, Joe. I suppose one of the biggest headlines from that for us here in Ireland, at least, is subscriptions. JAWS becoming a subscription service in Ireland, Matt reckons, within the next 60 to 90 days. How big a deal is that, Joe?
A massive deal, David. And that's hoop for yourself in that interview. I wasn't expecting that, actually. But, I mean, there's people out there that just can't afford that 800 to 1,000 euros for JAWS professional, and I think having a subscription-based purchase agreement will be a lot better for some people. I think I know people in a work environment might get JAWS purchased for them, and it's all the one. They're happy out. But I mean, on an individual that wants JAWS and loves JAWS, I think to have the subscription option is probably a really good thing for them.
Yeah. I'll be really interested to see the prices. I think that will tell a lot. And look, people are going to buy JAWS anyway, especially in the workplaces. JAWS is, like people compare JAWS to NVDA, and NVDA is a brilliant free screen reader. But there are certain, I suppose, workplace applications where, if we're being realistic, JAWS probably is still ahead, and it's always good to have options too, because there is going to be that really niche application that only works with JAWS or only works with NVDA. So there are going to be people who absolutely will subscribe to JAWS, and it's going to be interesting to see what kind of pricing model they look at for this in Ireland.
Exactly. Look, to me, David, JAWS is a better screen reader than NVDA. Look, I know there's people out there that will disagree. Obviously, there's NVDA.
Trying to get us cancelled, Joe. Goodness.
Yeah, well, it has the benefit of being free. Okay, that's great. But definitely you get a little bit more feedback with JAWS. JAWS obviously has, I suppose, a lot more money and investment behind it. It works probably better with certain products, especially in the work environment. Also, the Picture Smart feature, I think it's really excellent when you do need it. So look, JAWS, in my opinion, is a better screen reader, has better voices as well. I suppose you can purchase extra voices for NVDA too if you feel like it. But yeah, they have to make the subscription fee affordable. Otherwise, it beats the point. You know what I mean? So, I don't know, maybe 5-10 euros a month. If it goes above that, then people are going to start thinking about it. But it has to be affordable. Otherwise, it's not really a subscription fee anymore. It's just another bill that you really don't want to be paying. But yeah, affordable is the key.
Will it be an annual or a monthly subscription fee? I do wonder. That's probably an interesting question to see when it gets rolled out. Are we going to have the option? See, a lot of companies that do 12 months for the price of 10.
Yeah.
Others will just look for an annual fee and that's it. So it's the affordability of that, as Joe rightly says. Will it hit the price points? That I think people are going to be happy with.
I'd hope that they do, even if absolutely introducing the subscription, but I would like people to have the choice as well. If they do want to, and we don't know if this is going to be the case, I would like people to have the choice to still purchase the software. Should they want to, so time will tell.
Kind of like Microsoft Office, David.
Well, those days are gone. You can't get Microsoft Office Student anymore. But it will be interesting to see. And I'll be interested as well to see what this means for the likes of Sight and Sound. Sight and Sound are the main distributor for JAWS here in Ireland, at least, and I believe in the UK as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how all of that works out, whether we'll still be purchasing through Sight and Sound, whether we'll be going through Freedom Scientific or Vespero now. It will be interesting to see how all that shapes out there. But according to Matt Ater there, anyway, Senior Vice President at Vespero, he reckons a subscription model will be rolling out for JAWS in the next 60 to 90 days. Definitely one that is going to be interesting to watch. We'd love to hear your voice notes on that as well, by the way. You can get in touch with us 086 199 0011 on WhatsApp, or if you want to send us an email, it's content@vi.ie. You heard him there, but we're going to hear from him even more now, for better or for worse. It's Daniel Dunn. It's Talking Technology News Time.
This is Talking Technology News.
With your latest Talking Technology News, I'm Daniel Dunn. A number of large tech companies have received fines in recent weeks totaling hundreds of millions of euro. Meta was fined 200 million euros and Apple 500 million euros in recent weeks, with both fines issued following investigations by the European Commission. Meanwhile, TikTok has also received a 530 million euro fine from the Irish Data Protection Commission. The TikTok fine arises out of a result of the transfer of some EU user data to China, which has concerned the DPC. Both Apple and TikTok have said that they intend to appeal these fines. The EU has levelled many major fines on tech companies in recent years, and because so many tech companies are based in Ireland, the Irish Data Protection Commission has had a significant part to play in some of these sanctions. Time will tell if these companies end up paying the fines that have been handed down, but it's certainly interesting to see these fines being handed out despite significant tariffs across the pond. Do you think fining these companies to improve their behaviour is a good idea? Let us know your thoughts with a WhatsApp voice note. In other news, Google have announced that they are dropping cloud support for the first and second generation of the Nest Learning Thermostat. In what will be unwelcome news for the product's customers, most of the smart features that sold the thermostat will stop working as of October. You will no longer be able to control the device using your smart speaker or mobile phone, with Google saying that the device will still be able to be controlled from the hardware itself. Notably, for those with sight loss, the Nest thermostat does not currently have a screen reader built in, so this change will make the product completely inaccessible for those with low or no vision. In a blog post announcing the move, Google said Nest Learning Thermostat first generation of 2011, Nest Learning Thermostat second generation of 2012, and Nest Learning Thermostat second generation European version 2014 will no longer receive software updates. You will no longer be able to control them remotely from your phone or with Google Assistant, but can still adjust the temperature and modify schedules directly on the thermostat. Google also confirmed that they will no longer be launching any more thermostats in Europe, saying heating systems in Europe are unique and have a variety of hardware and software requirements that make it challenging to build for the diverse set of homes. Therefore, moving forward, we'll no longer launch new Nest thermostats in Europe. It's a weird statement from one of the biggest technology companies in the world, but it certainly doesn't inspire much confidence in Google's smart home efforts. Google acquired Nest for $3.2 billion in 2014, but now 10 years on, some of Nest's earliest adopters are being left out in the cold. In other news of expensive things getting shut down, Skype closes doors this week. Skype was acquired by Microsoft for $8.5 billion US back in 2011. But now all Skype users have been migrated to Microsoft's other communication platform, Teams. Many will remember Skype as their first video call, but now it joins the Nest thermostats in the graveyard of once great tech solutions of yesteryear. When you purchase a product, how long do you think the company should be required to maintain it? Should there be requirements for how the company handles a shutdown like this? Google are offering deals to customers who want to upgrade to newer thermostats, but is this enough? Share your thoughts with us now. And finally, for now, the VoiceOver screen reader has turned 20 years old. First introduced in OS X Tiger for the Mac back in 2005, VoiceOver became extremely popular and has been used by blind and visually impaired people ever since. It quickly made its way to the iPad Shuffle, where it could read titles, and is now included in most of Apple's products, from the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch to the Apple TV, and of course the Mac. It has revolutionized how blind people use phones and watches and access entertainment, and while it hasn't taken off yet, VoiceOver is also the first major screen reader on a virtual reality headset in the form of the Vision Pro. While many screen readers designed for touch, such as TalkBack followed, VoiceOver sits alongside JAWS in completely changing the industry. How has VoiceOver made a difference for you? Let us know with a WhatsApp voice note. And that's it for now. A reminder that our competition to win a pair of Shokz Open Move headphones closes this Friday, so get your entries in while you still can. Though for now, it's back to you, David.
Thanks a million, Daniel. And I do want to jump straight to Mr. Joe Lonigan here, because Joe, you are justifiably not a happy camper about this whole Nest thermostat thing, and I can't argue with you either.
No, I'm not happy about that one. I think it's a bit ridiculous, really, to stop cloud support for something that they sold in. I suppose in customers' confidence that this product would work for years, So a Nest first or second generation thermostat a few years ago, you'd probably think, oh, this will last me 10, 15 years maybe, because so why would you want to upgrade your why would you want to change your Nest unless it stopped working? But they've made it stop working by not supporting the cloud support, and this will mean that some of us that use smart speakers to control our thermostats will not be able to say, Nest, turn on the heating, or boost the heating upstairs, or boost the heating downstairs, or boost the hot water, or whatever you do with your thermostat. Check the temperature even in the room. So it's also a learning thermostat, so I'm not sure if that'll even work anymore. But anyway, I think to make out that our heating systems are too complicated and actually give people incentives not to be a customer, I think that's a new one on me now.
It's very strange. I've never seen anything like it. They're actually offering discounts to purchase thermostats from their competitor. I've never seen that before. It seems so strange to me.
Yeah, I think they said there's too many different heating systems in Europe. Like, I suppose identifiably there's probably three main ones: gas, oil, and maybe heat pumps or air to heat pumps, that kind of thing. And there is electric ones, but you don't need thermostats for those. They have them built in. So, I think it's a lame excuse. I think a company of that size that have spent a lot of money on these, they maybe should have kept investing, and especially for the health of their customers.
I will be very interested to see what this means for the future of Nest as a company, because I've spoken on the podcast before about having the Nest Protect devices at home, and they're fantastic products, but it also hasn't been updated in many years. So how long is it before Nest say, all right, sorry you bought that smoke alarm from us. That wasn't cheap, mind you, and that's the same with these Nest thermostats. They're not cheap devices by any means. You expect these devices to last, you really do.
You do, and I think Nest has hit an awful flat spot at the moment. I don't hear them in the news. I don't think they're keeping up with their Amazon competitors, or even the HomePod probably is in a flat spot too. But Nest definitely at a flat spot. They're not pushing it like I suppose they should be, but no, they're moving, they're pulling away from it a little bit and letting it die maybe. So that's probably maybe an over exaggeration, but that's how I feel at the moment. So I know some of the competitors will be happy, like Hive and that kind of thing, but look, Hive and all these other companies, they mightn't have all the same features that an individual might want from their Nest product. So the learning thermostat is supposed to be amazing. I don't have that one. I actually have Hive, but I'm upset for the other customers that do have Nest that I support. So, that's where we're at with Nest at the moment, David. And hopefully there has to be some sort of a change down the line, maybe. But sustainability wouldn't be their thing either if they're not supporting products that they're going to let die now.
I think it's very poor form, to be quite honest. But I can't but think, is it tying in with the end of Google Assistant, because that has that's already been listed in RAP.ie for the end of 2025. So I think it's probably going to tie in with that. It's Gemini is going to replace it. I've queried just some of the accessibility apps, such as Google's Action Blocks. That's not compatible with Gemini at the moment.
They still haven't fixed that, no?
No, it's still
That's
not.
crazy.
And this is now, well, as of a few weeks back, I can't say exactly today is it working or not with Gemini, but I did email about them, did email Google about it. They said, yeah, look, it's not compatible at the moment. And I kind of said, right, can you tell me more? Is it going to be compatible? And I never got a straight answer. So I'm just wondering, is a lot of things that Google Assistant used to, controls, or, is all these things being phased out because Gemini is taken over from Google Assistant, and Google Assistant looks like just going to be switched off soon.
But the crazy part is, they could, in theory, if they really wanted to, surely make the device self-sustainable in some fashion. That you see how a lot of Apple's devices and the Eve devices and a few other smart home products as well, they don't have to phone home to have all of this stuff work, and that's also the case with the Matter standard. But it seems like Google are kind of like, well, if it can't phone home, then sure, what's its point in even existing? And that seems like a very, maybe I'm being unfair here, but that seems like a very Google attitude to me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. To be quite honest, I would have hoped that, obviously, look, Google Assistant is a great tool for another while yet, while it's still there. I would have thought all its capabilities would have been migrated straight into Gemini. And why not just, have Gemini, when it comes to the time that Gemini is going to replace Google Assistant, but it should have all the learnings of what Google Assistant was able to do, and continue to work with legacy hardware. I think Google need to be kind of given a rap on the knuckles for this, because you got, as Joe says there, you invest in this technology, and this, it knocks the confidence out of investing in technology if you say, well, sure, there's nothing stopping a company just dropping support for this in another 5, 6, 7 years, and you're after shelling out a nice few quid for it in the first place.
Yeah.
And, I think it's just fierce, because at the moment we're trying to get everyone to move over to, energy efficiency, controlled devices. Want to be able to try and control our devices from the point of view of saving energy, all that kind of thing. And none of this technology is cheap. And if we're going to be asked to invest in this technology for the purposes of cutting down energy demand and all of this, we're told that a company can just make your product obsolete is very, 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 unassuring.
Yeah. It's a weird one, and who knows? Maybe there'll be another EU fine at some point in the future.
I think a big hefty fine for the likes of that move would, and I mean a serious fine. Like I know a couple of 100 million sounds like a lot of money. It is a huge amount of money, but I think the likes of these super companies, it's a drop in the ocean.
Sure.
So go hard, go 40 billion, 50 billion. Wipe them out for a year, wipe out every penny they make for a year or 2 years, and then the message gets sent home that, okay, you mess around, you find out. And seriously, think the fines, while they sound impressive, as I read them out there in the news script, but I think when it actually falls through the letterbox of Google HQ, it's like someone here getting a €20 fine for X, Y, or Z.
Yeah. Fair point. It's an interesting one. Another thing being shut down is Skype, Daniel. Do you remember this? Were you a fan of Skype, Daniel?
Yeah, that brings back memories.
Good or bad?
Yes, Skype. Yeah, look, I suppose the broadband wasn't brilliant back then. It was only getting going, so there was a couple of Skype calls. When you got the video going, it was very pixelated. It freeze buffers, audio too. So that I think it was probably for a lot of us in Ireland, it was a little bit ahead of its time because we just didn't have the technology connections to really make it a smooth service.
Yeah,
probably worked brilliant in the cities and things like that where broadband was always much, much faster. So yeah, it brings that kind of a painful memory when I hear that.
Yeah, fair enough.
Is that possible to?
It absolutely is, for sure.
It's up there with the dial-up tone.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
It's in there. It's in that league.
Fair enough. Well, it is officially no more. Skype was shut down for the last time yesterday, fully integrated into Teams. An interesting story for sure, especially after 8.5 billion that they bought that for.
That sounds like more of a self-inflicted fine, doesn't it?
It kind of does. It really does. And speaking of other acquisitions, we didn't have time to put this one in the news because it just started to break as we started recording. But there are reports this afternoon that Deliveroo is to be acquired by DoorDash, its American competitor. We'd be really interested to hear, actually, for any of our American listeners, how accessible is DoorDash? What's it like? We'd be really interested to hear about that. It'll be interesting to see if anyone like Amazon make a counter offer against DoorDash for this deal. The deal currently valued at $3.9 billion. That's 3.4 billion euros and 2.9 billion pounds. A very expensive deal. But that is DoorDash reportedly set to purchase Deliveroo. I just hope I get to keep my Deliveroo Plus that we get with Prime, but who knows? Time shall tell on that. But there you have it. Joe, Daniel, thank you so much for all of that. And that is about our lot for this episode of Talking Technology. A reminder that if you do want to check out any of the VI Labs training courses, you can find all of those in the upcoming events section of vi.ie. And a reminder as well that that competition that we have there for those pair of Shokz Open Move headphones, that's going to remain open until Friday. So get your entries in now. But for now, that is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you in another 2 weeks' time for another episode of Talking Technology with VI Labs. See you then.
Thanks for listening to the Talking Technology podcast with VI Labs. If you'd like to support our show, please visit vi.ie/donate. Talking Technology is proudly sponsored by IA Labs, the market leader in digital accessibility services. IA Labs, digital inclusion, your legal obligation.